The Minnesota Twins head into Chicago to face a White Sox team that had been in an absolute tailspin and drop the series. Thankfully, avoid the sweep today. Thankfully, they needed 12 innings, but they avoided the sweep today. We're going to discuss a bit about these games, give you some thoughts and some trends in the lineup. But one thing I want to ask of you is, what would you do to try to kind of change the way things have been going for this lineup? Maybe looking at these scores, if you didn't watch these games, it doesn't seem like they scored 7 today. They scored 4 the other day. It's not too bad. They needed extra innings. They needed a lot of things to happen to get to that 7 today. Certainly some encouraging trends and some things that happened today that are encouraging, but would you be shaking things up? That's kind of the heart of the question. Maybe not completely demoting guys who've been playing down to the minors, but maybe limiting some roles, platooning some guys, trying some things differently. Let me know. We're going to get to that discussion, but I wanted to make sure to throw that out early. Going to take a really quick look game by game and take a look at the win probability charts. This was game 1 where Joe Ryan was amazing, 6 shutout innings, and then unfortunately Jorge Lopez, who had a 0 ERA entering that outing, gives up a 2-run home run. The Twins lose a tight game. Chicago takes game 1. Unfortunately, the Twins cannot bounce back there, and it was just a very frustrating game to watch for game 1 because the bats were two runs on 3 hits, 11 strikeouts, 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position in that game. They got a little bit more going in this one, but this game 2 was started by Louis Varland, who gave up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Both of these losses, 2 pretty sloppy games played by the Twins. Both Griffin Jacks and Giovanni Moran gave up runs out of the bullpen in this one. That certainly didn't help. And the Twins struck out 12 times in this second game as well. So that brought us to today. And as you see here, it was sort of a flip of the script. The Twins had held the lead in the first 2 games and lost. Chicago held a lead for most of this one and lost. So thankfully the Twins managed to come back. But they trailed 2-1 in the 8th inning. And it just felt like this was going to be a sweep. It just kind of felt like a listless performance, a listless trip here to Chicago. But luckily, Buxton hit a home run to tie it up. Luckily, the bullpen held and kept wiggling out of jams to give him enough time. But another good performance from Pablo Lopez today. 7 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts against just 1 walk. Did kind of hurt himself. He walked a guy and then gave up a home run, though. That's how the 2 runs were scored on that home run. Can't ever argue, though, with 7 innings and 2 runs. But could have maybe been even better than that. Pip was pitching very well. The Twins cannot score in the 10th or 11th innings, but luckily, again, the bullpen really held tough. And Chicago also couldn't score in those innings until, again, the Twins scored 5 runs in the top of the 12th. In part thanks to Alex Colomé once again. So, again, a frustrating, not going to say, we're going to sweep this aside. It was a frustrating series against the team. We should have been able to expect the Twins to at least win the series against. Certainly not have this kind of trouble against them. But, as we see here, things are still looking good for the Twins. Yes, part of that is because they're playing in the American League Central for sure. But they are playing to a 91-win pace. And, if we take a look at the American League standings, they would be, like if we pretend they were in another division, they would be in a wild card spot right now. So they would be a playoff team right now. Obviously, these types of conversations are so early, but I just want to paint that picture of, they have a 3.5 game lead because they're in the Central, but it's not like they're a complete joke at this point. And, it's early. The Twins losing a series against a team that's playing poorly stinks. But, hey, the Mets were swept by the Tigers. So, Major League Baseball is crazy, man. Major League Baseball is crazy. Now I want to get into some topics. And this first one is definitely premature. But before we kind of get into some things I'm concerned about, this is something that I'm really hopeful about. It has to happen eventually. Carlos Correa is going to pick it up eventually. He hit a home run today after only having 7 extra base hits in March and April. He now has 3 extra base hits in 3 games so far in May. So again, he had 7 extra base hits entering May. He already has 3 extra base hits in just 3 games this month. So, obviously small sample. We'll see how things continue to progress, but if you're looking for silver linings, this is a guy maybe who's turning things around. And also, if you are looking for kind of a scapegoat as to why the lineup hasn't performed quite to its potential to this point, I think Correa is the easiest guy to point at and say that's why. He's playing so far below where you would expect him, but hopefully that is about to turn around. What's already turned around is that Byron Buxton is a monster right now. He has the 11th best OPS in the American League on the season at .920. He hit his 8th home run today, again, that game-tying shot in the 8th inning. But his last 15 days, Byron is hitting .311 with a .415 on-base percentage and an .822 slugging percentage. That is a .1237 OPS, which is second in the American League over that stretch, behind only Masataka Yoshida of the Red Sox. So Byron is crushing it. Byron is really helping to carry this lineup and provide a lot of the boost. So that's kind of the positive trends here. Now the negative trends, I put sophomore slumps is kind of what I'm putting on here. Larnach, it's kind of hard to really say what year he's in, but both of these guys right around 600 plate appearances for their careers. And what does that mean? The more data that's out there, the more pitchers are going to figure out how to attack you, the more, these analytics departments, the more these pitching coaches, the more these catchers. These guys are all smart major league pitchers. If they can find a certain pitch, or like with Larnach is really struggling on breaking balls, or a certain location, like with Miranda's really struggling on high pitches. They are good enough to exploit those things. And I think both of these guys right now are getting a little bit exploited. I think both of them at the moment are pressing, and that's making things more difficult for them. I will say, though, Jose Miranda, overall, watching his plate appearances, I think is pretty tough. I think he's pressing. He's really expanding the zone, and that's making a lot of his plate appearances feeble, and pitchers are having not much trouble with him. But to be fair, he does have a .741 OPS in his last 15 games. That's not killing you. It's mainly because he had a 2-home run game in there. He had another home. There's 3 homers in that stretch, so that's kind of carrying a lot of the weight there. But just wanted to be fair that it's not like he's been a complete embarrassment. It's just a lot of his plate appearances are looking pretty ugly. Larnach, on the other hand, a .624 OPS over the last 15 days, and that includes 19 strikeouts in his last 13 games played. And I think he's struck out something like 8 times in his last 10 plate appearances or something. Had been playing pretty well, had been one of the better on-base guys in the lineup up to this stretch of poor play, which that's been a struggle for this team. This team's been slugging pretty well, but really struggling with on-base. Larnach was kind of the guy that was helping them out in that department, and he's just kind of fallen apart, and it's just the worst timing because circling back to that topic that I wanted to ask about, the Twins can mix some stuff up. The Twins have an opportunity to mix some stuff up if they want to. Kyle Farmer has started a rehab assignment with the Saints. It's not expected that he's really going to need a whole lot of time to get back up and running. And then Kirilloff, as you know, I think everybody knows by now, the Twins optioned Kirilloff back to the minor leagues when his rehab assignment ended. That was a huge talking point. Trevor Larnach struggling certainly isn't going to help silence that conversation. With Farmer, I think we're discussing probably maybe him getting and eating into Jose Miranda's playing time potentially, and giving Miranda some more time to maybe look at film, work at stuff on the cage, even just talk about approach, things, to go over some things that he's not doing well and try to address those. So Farmer might be a guy who could kind of rest, give Miranda some rest. Kirilloff right now, right now, and that's, going back to Buxton playing so well, I never really would have thought to put Buxton in a DH, that's it role for this long. I would more have been like, 50-50, get him in center, get him DHing, trying to keep him healthy, trying to, limit his exposure to potential injuries happening. But this is working out so well. This is working out so well, and Byron is hitting, and he's healthy, that I'm hesitant to want to mess with that, you know? And it's impossible to predict injuries. It's not to say that if you throw him out in center field, he's going to get hurt, but it might. It is exposing him more that to potential injuries than he is now. So I'm kind of hesitant to mess with that. It sounds like, by all accounts, the Twins aren't really interested in pushing him out to center field. So regardless of what I think, it doesn't really matter. I don't think we're going to see Buxton out in center anytime soon. So Alex, he's ready when they need him, and his opportunity probably ties in. More than likely, someone's probably going to get hurt. That's so often the way these things work themselves out. But if Larnach continues to struggle, it's not as if, again, Larnach has been a guy who was playing really well for a good amount of time this year, but it's not as if this guy has a big, long track record at the major league level to lean back on. Now, Kirilloff doesn't either, but, if you are just sort of looking to get a different look, mix things, try something different. None of these guys, Miranda, Larnach, Kirilloff, Farmer, whoever, can't make up for Carlos Correa being as bad as he has been to this point. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm kind of like placing blame on Larnach or really anybody else when he's been hitting fairly well for most of the year. But at a certain point, you do start to wonder, I feel like, hey, if we maybe just get this guy in here, get a different look, catch lightning in a bottle. And I do think they are pretty comparable. So let me know what you think about that. Let's take a look forward. The Twins are going to Cleveland to play the Guardians. Here's a look at how they've been doing. They have not been doing well. They've lost their last 5 straight series. Now, they haven't had like a big, long losing streak here. They've only lost 2 in a row at the most, but lost a series at Detroit versus Miami versus Colorado, at Boston, and now at New York against the Yankees. So this is a team that's kind of up against it right now. The pitching matchups are Bailey Ober versus Peyton Battenfield tomorrow. Sonny Gray versus Logan Allen the next day. That's rookie Logan T. Allen, not Logan Allen, who pitched poorly for the same team a couple of years ago. Very weird situation with that. And then Joe Ryan versus Cal Quantrill. I feel like those are good pitching matchups for the Twins. They haven't been playing well on the road. I think they're 500 on the road at this point. That was a huge problem with this team last year. Would love to see a series victory at Cleveland, and that would sort of help wash some of the taste of this White Sox series out of our mouths. So be looking forward to that series. Going to be a good one. Anyway, thank you so much for checking this video out. Thank you to all of the members for sponsoring this channel. Here are the premium members. We'll talk again soon.